Angie Dickinson really hated him more than anyone else. Angie Dickinson was born Angeline Brown on September 30th, 1931, in a small town called Colm, North Dakota. She grew up in a tiny town during the Great Depression, and her early life was pretty tough with not much money, but her family had strong values. Her parents were Frederica and Leo Henry Brown, and they taught her to be disciplined, tough, and to reach for her dreams. Her family moved to California later on, where she got to see a much more fancy world that would change her life forever. After she finished college at Immaculate Heart College in Los Angeles, she worked as a secretary for a little while, but secretly dreamed of becoming an actress. She was really beautiful and also super smart and determined, which made talent scouts notice her and put her on the path to becoming a Hollywood star. Dickinson started acting in the 1950s, which was like the golden time of Hollywood when TV was just starting to become really popular. She began with tiny roles in cowboy shows and different TV series, slowly building up her reputation as someone people could count on and who had lots of charm. Her big break came in 1956 when she won a beauty contest that got her noticed in Hollywood. Right after that, she got parts in movies like Gun the Man Down in 1956, acting alongside James Aries, and Rio Bravo in 1959, where she starred with famous actors like John Wayne and Dean Martin. Her acting in Rio Bravo was really important because it showed she could hold her own with these huge male stars, playing a woman who was strong but also had vulnerable moments and brought real emotion to the story. This movie made her reputation as a rising star in Hollywood solid. The 1960s and 1970s were when Angie Dickinson's movie career was at its best. She acted in all kinds of different movies, from serious dramas to funny comedies to exciting thrillers. She worked with famous directors like Howard Hawks, Don Siegel, and Brian De Palma, showing how talented and flexible she was as an actress. She starred in movies like The Killers in 1964, a crime thriller where she acted with Ronald Reagan in his very last movie role, and Point Blank in 1967, an intense dark crime movie that paired her with Lee Marvin. One of her most talked about and praised roles came in Dressed to Kill in 1980, directed by Brian De Palma, where she played a woman caught up in a dangerous web of mystery and mind games. Her willingness to take chances and play complicated, layered, female characters helped make it easier for future actresses in Hollywood to take on bolder and more challenging parts. Even though her movie career was successful, Angie Dickinson became famous to everyone through television. In 1974, she took on the groundbreaking role of Sergeant Suzanne Pepper Anderson in the NBC crime drama, Policewoman. This role was revolutionary back then because Dickinson became one of the first women to be the main star of a major network drama series in a job that was usually only for men. As Pepper Anderson, she played a strong, smart, and caring policewoman, getting great reviews from critics and breaking down barriers for women on TV. Her performance won her a Golden Globe Award and got her nominated for multiple Emmy Awards, and the show ran successfully for 4 seasons, inspiring tons of women to go into careers in law enforcement and changing how people thought about women in positions of power. Angie Dickinson's career lasted for decades, and she kept working well into the 1990s and early 2000s, appearing in projects like Wild Palms, Pay It Forward in 2000, and making guest appearances on TV shows that introduced her to younger people. Her talent, beauty, and charm let her stay popular across different time periods in Hollywood, which is something very few actresses have been able to do. She didn't just represent glamour and class, but also showed strength and independence, becoming a role model for women both in and out of the entertainment business. Angie Dickinson's personal life, just like her career, was full of chapters of passion, relationships, and complicated situations that showed different sides of who she was. Her first marriage was to Gene Dickinson, a college football star whose good looks, charm, and athletic success made him a local celebrity long before he got into the electronics business. They got married in 1952, when Angie was still just starting out in Hollywood. The marriage, from the outside, seemed like it had all the makings of a perfect 1950s American couple. She was a young woman about to become a star, and he was an ambitious man building his own career. But by 1956, only 4 years after they said their vows, the couple had separated. The marriage officially lasted until 1960, but it fell apart years earlier, showing the stress of Angie's growing career, her increasing independence, and the problems That often happened when one partner was pushed into the Hollywood spotlight, while the other followed a quieter, more normal business path. Even though they separated, Angie decided to keep his last name, Dickinson, and it eventually became not only her professional name, but also a permanent part of who she was. A decision that shows both what society expected back then and her sense of keeping things consistent even as she was moving forward on her own. During her marriage to Jean Dickinson, Angie became good friends with economist John Kenneth Galbraith and his wife Catherine. The Galbraiths were among the most important intellectual couples of that time, and their friendship with Angie gave her access to a completely different world than Hollywood, a world of political discussions, cultural exchanges, and diplomacy. When John Kenneth Galbraith was made U.S. ambassador to India under President John F. Kennedy, Angie traveled to visit them overseas. These visits, written about in Galbraith's own books, Ambassador's Journal and A Life in Our Times, showed that Angie was much more than just an actress. She was also a woman who felt comfortable in smart and political circles. The fact that her presence and experiences were included in Galbraith's writings shows not only how close she was with the family, but also the impression she made on people who met her during these amazing travels. Through these friendships, she broadened her view of the world, learned about global affairs, and experienced a life beyond Hollywood's movie sets. This was a rare privilege for a young actress of her time. In 1965, Dickinson got into her most famous and deeply meaningful marriage, this time with Burt Bacharach, the brilliant composer, songwriter, and musician whose work would go on to define much of popular music in the 1960s and 1970s. Their marriage seemed at first like a glamorous pairing of Hollywood and the music world. To successful people at the top of their careers, for 16 years, they stayed together, though their marriage wasn't without its problems. Toward the end, they went through a period of separation during which they dated other people, showing the stress of trying to maintain closeness while dealing with the demands of fame, creativity, and personal struggles. Even though they separated, they always kept a sense of connection, one that probably came from both the happiness and challenges they shared together as a family. On July 12, 1966, Angie gave birth to their only child, a daughter named Leah, Nikki Bacharach, who everyone called Nikki. Nikki's birth was a happy event, but life soon brought serious challenges. She was born too early and later diagnosed with autism, at a time when people didn't understand much about autism, and there weren't many medical resources for it. Angie and Bert's lives were deeply affected by taking care of Nikki, and Angie especially devoted herself to her daughter with amazing dedication, often saying no to work opportunities to be more present in her life. Nikki's struggles lasted her whole life, and after decades of battling with her condition and related difficulties, she sadly took her own life on January 4, 2007, at the age of 40. The loss was heartbreaking for Angie, who never stopped talking about Nikki with both love and sadness, showing the unbreakable bond between mother and daughter. Burt Bacharach, with whom Angie had shared both her happiest and most heartbreaking family experiences, died many years later in 2023, ending a chapter on one of the most important relationships of her life. In the years after her divorce from Angie continued to live a full life, often surprising fans with her romantic choices. In the 1980s, she started a relationship with musician Billy Vera, a singer and songwriter who became successful with his soulful performances and heartfelt songs. Their romance was loving and public enough that Angie even appeared in the music video for his single I Can Take Care of Myself. This fun collaboration showed another side of her, a willingness to step into new worlds, support her partner's work, and show a lighter, more modern side, as music videos were becoming a huge part of pop culture. Her relationship with Vera was part of her post-Hollywood golden age life, in which she explored love outside of marriage and beyond what people expected from her earlier years. During the 1990s, Dickinson's love life again made headlines when she dated Larry King, the famous radio and television interviewer. King, known for his curiosity and his ability to connect with pretty much anyone who sat across from him, found a partner in Angie, who was not only glamorous but also smart and interesting to talk to. Their relationship lasted several years and was marked by mutual respect and companionship. While it didn't lead to marriage, it became another notable chapter in Angie's life, showing that she continued to attract prominent men and that she valued connections with people whose lives were as exciting as her own. When it came to Hollywood personalities, Angie Dickinson was known for being diplomatic, charming, and often very careful about what she said in public. She had worked with dozens of leading men and women across movies and television, from the golden age of Hollywood into the modern era. For the most part, Angie got along well with her co-workers and often spoke nicely about them in interviews, even if there had been moments of tension behind the scenes. But there was one exception, one person who seemed to stand out above all the rest as someone she simply could not stand. That man was Telly Savalas, of course, became a household name in the 1970s as the tough, bald-headed detective Kojak, famous for his signature line, "Who loves you, baby?" and his ever-present lollipop. He was loud, larger than life, and shamelessly full of ego, both on and off the screen. To some people, this made him charming, but to others, especially those who had to deal with him up close, his overbearing personality was impossible to handle. For Angie Dickinson, he wasn't just difficult, he was unbearable. She admitted in rare, honest moments that her hatred for him went beyond ordinary dislike. "I can honestly say," Angie once said, "that I truly hated Telly Savalas more than anyone else I ever worked with in Hollywood." This was a shocking confession from a woman who usually kept her criticisms private, but it showed just how deeply Savalas had gotten under her skin. Angie explained that while many actors had their quirks, their egos, or even their rude moments, Telly was something completely different. He was arrogant to the point of cruelty. She continued, "He had this way of making everyone on set feel small, as if he was the king and we were just there to bow down to him. I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand him." Part of the hatred came from the way Savalas acted in work situations. According to Angie, he demanded constant attention, dismissed what other people contributed, and had an air of superiority that poisoned the working atmosphere. Telly thought he was untouchable. She said, "He walked around like he owned the world, and if you weren't willing to stroke his ego, then you were his enemy." Well, I wasn't going to stroke his ego, and that made me his target. From that moment on, we were at war. What made Angie's hatred even deeper was that it wasn't based on just one bad incident or a misunderstanding. It wasn't one argument or one clash of personalities. It was ongoing, constant tension. Angie revealed that she dreaded any time she had to share a set, an interview, or even a casual gathering with Savalas, because she knew the interaction would definitely leave her feeling drained and furious. He had this way of smirking, she remembered, bitterly, as if he was laughing at you, even when he wasn't saying anything. It was condescending, it was ugly, and it was constant. Every time I looked at him, I thought, this is a man I will never like, never respect, never forgive, for the way he treated people. While Dickinson was never one to start public fights, she made it clear that her feelings about Savalas were not some minor irritation. They ran deep, and they lasted throughout her life. She could be gracious and forgiving with many of her co-workers, but when it came to Telly, her words had a finality that left no room for making up. "I've said before that I don't hold grudges," she admitted, "but with Telly, I make an exception. I hated him then, and I never stopped hating him. Some people earn your respect. Some people earn your love. Telly Savalas earned my hatred." For Angie Dickinson, who had worked with legends and giants of the industry, that statement was really meaningful. To single out one man among all the powerful personalities she had met as the one she truly hated more than anyone says a lot about the impression Telly Savalas left on her. It was not just a clash of stars, it was a deep-seated resentment that never faded, even decades later.